The reason why I struggled to lose weight for so long was because I never had this one thing, and that was developing healthy habits. Habits are literally the compound interest of everything you do inside your daily life, from the most minuscule things like brushing your teeth, getting up and making your bed in the morning, or even just getting out the door and having a meal prep for work. And as someone who's lost 40 pounds while working over 50 hours a week inside of the trades, I'm going to break down this video step by step how to build habits, how to understand habits, and how to replace your old toxic ones. The next thing I want you to do is have a pen and paper ready and start to take notes, because there's a lot of information we're about to unravel in this video. Developing healthy habits is the byproduct and result of doing small things every single day that you consecutively do to get to a result or to develop a new system or routine. So, if you want to become someone who loses weight, what are the habits that get instilled to someone who loses weight? Getting a meal plan together, going in a calorie deficit, getting their water, getting their sleep, getting a gym membership, getting their steps in every day. Those are all micro habits that lead up to one big result, which is going to be losing weight. The same goes in business. If you have an entrepreneur who's trying to make money, his daily habits, what does he do in the morning? How does he manage his time? All of these things are regulated and formed inside of our lives. And in this video, I'll be breaking down specifically how you can create healthy habits for yourself, especially on a busy schedule. As myself who works in the trades, I was able to run a marathon, lose 40 pounds, and still go to work working 50-hour weeks, all in the span of 1 year. Why was I able to do that? Because I developed healthy habits inside of my life that were not only sustainable, but they were simplified enough for me to follow on a consecutive basis in which I didn't fall off. I made it very hard for myself to fall off on. Now that we got that out of the way, I want you to grab a pen and paper and really pay attention closely to what I'm about to break down for you next. Why do habits matter? They're literally the reflection of your lifestyle. If you are someone who is healthy, organized, shows up for their kids, shows up for the family, shows up for themselves, you most certainly have healthy habits. If you were overweight, you're going to bed late, you're just miserable all the time, you have poor relationships with people, that is a sign of you not having healthy habits. And if you want to change your results, you need to start changing your habits. Coming over to section number 2. This is really important here. Section number 2, building your identity first. Okay? So the biggest problem when it comes to building habits is people don't have the identity of the person that they want to be. If you want to be better with your money and financially stable, you are probably going to have healthy habits inside your life around money. How much am I spending? How much am I saving? What am I investing my money into? What are my assets? Right? But in order to get there, we need to develop the identity of that person. So what does that person look like? If you're someone who wants to lose 20 pounds, you're a man that takes care of their body, right? If you want to stop eating junk food, you're a man that plans out things and makes better decisions for himself so that he's not put on the spot thinking, oh, I'm just going to have that cheeseburger tonight because I didn't have any food left over. Next up, I want you to pause this video and write down this journal prompt because it is super important as we progress through this video. So I want you to write down the type of man I'm becoming is blank, right? The habits that the person lives by is blank. And I want you to fill that in as brutally and honestly as possible, like you were looking at your life in a third person view. What this is going to do is it's really going to let you get deep down into who you want to actually become. And we'll be able to identify throughout this whole video if you are living out those practices right now and what you need to do to take action and get yourself into a better position. Habit is broken down into what James Clear says in Atomic Habits. It's broken down to a cue, craving, response, and reward, right? So a cue, something that triggers the behavior. So if someone said they didn't like something about you, that would trigger a behavior. You would have an emotional response to it. If they called you fat, you'd be upset. Craving, what is the urge or feeling you have afterwards to fill that void, to deal with the situation? Maybe if you get super anxious, you are going to attach yourself to sweet junk food. Maybe you're going to go doom scroll on your phone, right? You're going to try to avoid anything and comfort yourself and trigger your dopamine receptors in your brain, right? After that, the response is, what action do I take? Like, what are you generally going to do now that you're aware of the problem? That's the most important part. And then after is your reward. So what do you gain from it, right? So most people, if you go and have a bowl of ice cream because you're upset, sad, or anxious, you're probably going to feel happy after. It's going to trigger some form of happy response, right? But if you were also do something good for yourself, like going to the gym, going for a walk, I can almost guarantee you that reward back will be something positive. That's what we're going to break down in this next step. So I want you to understand what a bad habit is, right? A cue, stressful shift, a long day, your coworkers or your boss maybe is just treating you poorly. Your craving is probably anything that's convenient, anything that comforts you, right? If you're going on your phone, food, whatever your void filling symptoms are, right? And then your response is the actual action of what you just realized and processed inside of your brain. Going into your reward, you get that quick relief system. So now that we've kind of identified what a bad habit is, let's fill that with a good habit, right? So a good habit would be leaving for work in the morning, right? Then the cue is feeling prepared. Is your lunch prepped? Is your water ready to go? Is your boots at the door? Is your clothes clean and ready to go? Like everything's set up for you. So all you got to do is just plug and play, right? The response, it just makes it easier, makes it convenient, right? You go in the fridge, grab your to go meal for the day, and now you're on your way to work. Your reward, you're going to feel better. You're going to have less decision fatigue. You're not going to be stressed out. You're not going to have to think about the random, stupid, miscellaneous stuff in a day. And on top of that, you're going to have a better likelihood of staying successful. So now I want you to pause the video right now and break down a good and a bad habit using this exact formula on the screener here as we just went over. I want you to be very specific and I want you to not take any shortcuts. Get really deep on something that you've felt like it's been creeping up on you, but you're subtly avoiding it. What this is going to do is we're actually becoming aware. Awareness is the number one step to seeing any form of growth or change inside your daily life, right? The thing too is habits are a compound interest, whether they're good or bad, depending on how you make them. If you were doing little hits of dopamine throughout the day and it's going on your phone, you're going to snowball effect that into even more bad habits, which might bleed into other facets of your life, like your nutrition. And if you have good habits, it's the reverse order of operations. Your good habits are a byproduct of the small things you do in a day. Maybe you didn't go on your phone. Maybe you did set an alarm, right? So I want you to be really clear with this and concise. Next up, we're going into section 4. So here is the 4 laws of building good habits. I want you to pay attention very closely here. Number 1, you want to make that habit obvious, right? So if you are someone who struggles with just getting up in the mornings and rolling out the door for work, have your lunch prepped, have your lunch bag ready to go, have your boots at the door, right? The easier you can make your life, the easier it's going to be for you to stay consistent, right? Maybe you're getting home from work and your gym bag is buried upstairs in your bedroom. Have your gym bag down by the door. Have it in a most obvious spot that is hard for you to miss. Not only is this going to trigger a subconscious reminder like, hey, I got a cue to go to the gym, but now I actually have no decision fatigue. I can grab that bag. It's right in my face. And the amount of excuses that you have for yourself are very minimal, right? And then next up, what you want to do is you want to make that habit attractive, right? So maybe for you, you hate doing cardio, you hate walking. Well, then pair it up. Maybe you like listening to podcasts or there's a certain genre of music you like. Put your AirPods in and listen to a song or music while you're doing that task. And the biggest thing you want to do is shift your beliefs from I have to do this to I get to do this. Because when you get to do something, you're acting out of a thought of gratitude, right? Because we have a healthy body. We have the ability to do these things. We just ignore them because we don't know any better now. So you want to make it as attractive as possible. You want to reinforce yourself some way for doing this good action for yourself. Or maybe it's hard for you, but you know the ROI or the return on it is a lot better. That's when you got to make it attractive. You're not going to go to the gym if you don't have a good plan or reason as to why you're going, right? You know that if you do cardio, you're going to lose fat over time and get in shape. So there it's not a punishment, it's giving you a result and it's something that's hard in the moment, but you won't feel like shit afterwards. Which goes into the next one is just making that task super easy. Shrink it down. A lot of people look at Mount Everest and think, gosh, how do I get all the way up there? And then the people who actually climb Mount Everest look at it and say, okay, what's the first step? Where do I got to go first, right? Do I have all the gear packed for me, right? A lot of us are looking way past the field goal here, and we're not even at the base minimal of just getting up out of bed and making a good conscious decision for ourselves. You need to make these so simple that a toddler could do them. Like I said, a 10-minute walk. Have a high protein breakfast. Maybe you're going to Tim Hortons every morning. Have your breakfast, have eggs, something protein dense. Make one simple decision. Do not bombard yourself with 8 million things. That is how you're going to fail. And it's the reason why you probably start stop every single week. Once you make it easy, you're going to have to make it satisfying. Now that you've became aware to it, you've made it attractive, you've done all the things that you could to simplify actually doing the act. Now you got to make it satisfying. And by making it satisfying, that's where the longevity is going to come with this habit, and you're going to do it over time, right? So in my situation, when I was training for a marathon, I would have these hard tempo interval sessions, and every single time I'd finish work, I'd go do the session. And right after that session, I reward myself with an energy drink. Why? Because I attached doing a hard thing with a reward, which made it satisfying. So every single week, I was like, okay, maybe I'm exhausted from work. I feel like shit, but I ended up doing it and I still did it. And the reason why I was able to stay consistent with it was simply because I reinforced myself with something that was satisfying, right? And the biggest thing is I would also say have a wins journal. I have a journal right here. I write down my wins all the time. A lot of us think, oh, well, yeah, I did that. And you're like, okay, well, now your subconscious doesn't even know that it should be happy for you for doing that because you just did it and you're like, oh, I did it. No, you need to be on top of yourself and you need to treat yourself like you were someone cheering for you in the Olympics. Okay. And that is the reason why a lot of people just walk past their goals or they stop on them. It's not hard. You are just making it hard on yourself and you're treating yourself very poorly about it. Make your habit satisfying. Now we will go into section 5, the 4 laws of breaking your bad habits. First thing you need to do is make it invisible. Remove anything out of sight. If you are someone who snacks all the time, get all that shit out of your pantry. Take a day to clear out your pantry and set your environment up. I cannot stress this enough. If your house is filled with potato chips, candy, and just shit processed foods, yeah, you're going to have a higher likelihood of doing it. It's like if you had someone who's trying to quit drinking, they're an alcoholic, they would not have alcohol in their house. Why? Because they'd probably default back to doing it. The same with you and your bad habits. You need a clean slate when it comes to this, right? So maybe for you, you have bad comparison. You always just look on social media and you're like, man, I just want my body to look like this. Unfollow those accounts. It's an unrealistic metric to look at other people, and comparison is the thief of joy. You don't believe me? It's tattooed on my friggin' arm for a reason. As someone who was overweight my whole life, yeah, trust me, comparison was a bad one. And I'm telling you, it's a slow death to your identity. Next up is going to be making it unattractive, right? So every time you eat junk food, it tastes good, but you're like, oh, I feel bloated afterwards. Like you feel gross about yourself because you're aware you want to do better. Guys, we got a client texting us right now. Whoopsie dipsies. We're going to actually hold on. Wait a minute. We're answering client. Awesome. Making it unattractive, right? Like I said, like just making it so inconvenient, right? It's all about perspective. If you have that ice cream cone, you're like, yeah, this tastes good. But then afterwards, like, man, I feel fat. Like I don't feel good about myself and this and that, right? Lean into that. Make it unattractive. Say, what am I gonna get as I do this? Like it might sustain me in the present time, but it's not going to sustain me in the future. That's the most important part. There was a time I was on vacation. I had to bring all my meal prep up to a cottage that had no access to anything, right? And to everyone, they thought it was an inconvenience. For me, I made it unattractive having ice cream, having all the potato chips, all the junk food, everything that you could imagine was my old, bigger, fat Ethan habits. I said no. Why? Because I made them so unattractive that I just didn't have to think about it. I realized that I like the food I'm eating. The food I'm eating is great. The return on investment's great. I wake up every morning feeling good about myself. I'm not bloated. I'm not self-conscious, and I can look in the mirror and feel good about myself. Those are the things that I had to positively reinforce into my brain. And honestly, they're life-changing. So making it unattractive is super important. Then you want to make it difficult. A lot of us have an emotional response to our bad habits and our foods, meaning it's going to be really hard. You're going to feel it's very tempted to go back into your old ways, right? So bring your food before your shift, right? Now you have no excuse to go get fast food or McDonald's at lunch. Just keep up backup snacks in your lunch bag. Maybe you change job sites in a day, right? Keep something small, whether it's protein packed, it could be a fruit cup, beef jerky, anything like a trail mix, just something to sustain you for the time being. The hard things are never going to become very easy, but what you can do is make those hard things easier and less challenging. And by doing that, you just have to plan in advance. It's like the weather network tells you it's going to rain tomorrow, and we don't know for sure that it's actually going to rain tomorrow because how many times has the weather changed up on us? So by knowing this and taking this into account, you can prepare in advance for the worst case scenario. The last thing is making it unsatisfying, right? Breaking that habit, breaking the friction behind it. One of the biggest things I did that helped me make my poor habits unsatisfying was putting it in a calorie tracking app and seeing how much crap was inside of the foods I was eating. Once you see that, I promise you, you will have a different perspective and a different lens on what you're eating, which is going to make your habits 10 times easier. Next up is section 6. This is going to be the 2-minute rule. Like I said, consistency is always coming before your intensity. You don't need the biggest plan mapped out for yourself, okay? I never had everything mapped out. I just took one thing and I ran with it and I compounded over time. Working out. You don't need to go to the gym 5 days a week, but you also don't need to go to the gym for 2 hours a session. Maybe for you, even getting out the door to go hit one session is all you can commit to. But that is progress. You are already 1% better than you were the day before. Drive to the gym and just do one exercise. Make that the goal. Don't think about the whole workout. Don't think about your work day, how tired you were. Start very minuscule. Fixing your sleep. Phone away. Take this thing, throw it out your room. You don't need it. Take it away from you. Eliminate it, right? That's one minuscule thing that you're not thinking about. It's not rocket science, and a lot of you watching this video are grown adults. But the thing is you're not even aware of these small little things, and these small micro habits are the reason why your whole life has ran out in a big spiral loop. I can guarantee you that as someone who was fat their whole life. Next up, I want to break down section 7. It's going to be your habit stacking. Now that you've kind of developed great habits for yourself, you're kind of on a roll. We need to start progressing and creating our own snowball effect inside of our life because we can change one habit, but then we need to stack on more habits in order to get it. A great example of habit stacking is like you go to work from X amount of time to this amount of time. Right after, I will do next habit X amount of time after this. Once you do that, an hour after your work, maybe you go hit your session. Now you've just stacked on completing your work, coming home from work, doing that habit. Then you could even stack it to after I go to the gym, now I'm going to have my meal. Why? Because you need that nutritious protein to refill your body and help build more muscle. So I want you to really, this is important. I want you to pause this video right now and fill this out in your journal. Something that has really been eating you throughout your days, whether it's at work, after work, in the morning, I don't care. Write it down and be specific. Now that you've done that, we're going to come into section 8 here. This is designing your environment, right? There's a saying that says, if you're around 5 smokers, you're most likely to be the 6th. You need to design your own environment, but for a positive way. I cannot express this enough. Your environment will dictate a lot of things inside your reality, and it subconsciously programs you to think these thoughts that you're thinking or even take action on these things. If you are someone who constantly goes out drinking every single weekend, you do not have a great environment around you because you know you want to stop, but you keep doing it. Why? Because your environment's doing it. And you have zero self-control because you have zero identity, and which is why I put at the very beginning of this video. So I want you to really pay attention here. Examples, right? Positive environments is like keeping your foods visible, right? Putting your lunch bag by the door. Put your alarm and phone away before bed. Keeping your gym bag packed. Have something in there to help sustain you. Maybe even pack your pre-workout meal with you that you can have on the way home from work. These are positive things inside of your environment. You need to design this environment so it's next to impossible for you to fail. Ask yourself, what is in my environment that's helping me win? So what am I doing right now that's working out for me? Then I want you to ask yourself the opposite. What is not working for me? And why is it not working for me? Really get serious with yourself. You got to be your own auditor. You got to be someone who's with like a camera crew, a Hollywood camera crew filming you right now, every single thing you're doing and decision you're making. The last one's going to be, what do I need to do to move the needle this week? What do I genuinely need to change to make myself a better person following the next week? Section 9 is just awareness, right? Common examples of just being aware of your triggers. If you're constantly doing something every week and you're getting stressed out, it's making you fatigued. Your convenience is just gone. Like you are feeling like you have to drag yourself across the whole entire world to just get the smallest things done. So I want you to really write down what are kind of the things that trigger you inside your life. And I want you to look more inward on an emotional level to really deep dive and find out where this issue is coming from. And then you can kind of start rebuilding the basics. So after you do that, I want you to ask yourself these questions. What usually happens right before you make a bad choice? Right? Well, what goes on in your brain? Really, if you were to take a snapshot in time right now, a single frame, what actually happens? What time of the day are you struggling with the most? Where is it hard? Is it after work? Is it in the mornings? Is it at night? Be really serious about this. And what excuse do I repeat to myself most often? We are our own biggest critics, and we also are the ones that are looking for the cheap way out. So, what excuses are you really holding to yourself? Next up is section 10. You don't want to remove everything. You want to replace it, right? If you're trying to make better habits around food for yourself, don't just take all the junk food out. Just remove it day by day. Maybe that's all you can go at. But if you're trying to cut, like I said about Mount Everest earlier, if you're trying to go to the top of the mountain, you're not going to get there because you have no preparation, no goal, no nothing, no proof that is uplifting you right now. Your confidence level is down here, and so is your friggin' systems inside your life. So you need to replace it and you need to micro build like you're building a Lego set. So the framework that I followed was, what is my old habit? What does that habit give me? And then what is the alternative to this habit? So what's the better replacement? What is a bad habit? What does it do to me? What is the better alternative solution here? And how am I going to make it easier for myself? Once you make it easier for yourself, you're obviously going to, over time, fix and format your schedule and your routine inside of your life to make it just very easy that you can just wake up, open your eyes, and it's already inside your mind. Oh, I have a solution, right? It's like if you were driving and there's traffic, there's construction in front of you. What does a GPS do right away? It most likely reroutes itself. You're going to be able to do that like that because you have built these habits, this proof. Fast food after work, your pre-made meals so you don't have to go think about anything, right? Your late night doom scrolling, have a shower, take magnesium, read a book, don't stimulate yourself. Really wind down, really pay attention to the preparation to what you're about to do. If you're just stress eating all the time, get up, get steps in, walk. It's getting activity in is going to solve 99% of people's stress levels and they avoid it all the time. Next up is going to be section 11 here. Your proof builds confidence. Like I said in the last section, confidence comes from proof. Proof comes from the small daily actions you give yourself that proves your identity. You are who you say you are. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to prove for yourself by doing the simplest thing, which is taking action in some form of way. So I need you to ask yourself in specific though, what proof did I build this week? What did I do even when I didn't feel like it? Or what does this say about the man I'm becoming? Now that you've built out the identity for yourself, you can really reflect on that persona. Am I getting to this position, right? What does this actionable decision I do in a day say about the person I'm becoming? Am I showing up for my wife better? Am I showing up for myself better? Am I building, am I happier? All these things. It's a snowball effect. And I love to say this because starting inward and starting with your fitness is the number one way you can actually snowball into every other facet into your life. I can't even articulate the words because it happened to me as someone who's insecure, overweight, hated the person I was, had no confidence, couldn't talk to anyone. I'm here to tell you, once you work on yourself, because you can't control the world around you, but you can't control yourself. Once you start to build these habits and these actions, you will have an easier time at snowballing it into every other facet of your life. Next up is section 12, your weekly reset. Always, always, always setting yourself up every Sunday is a non-negotiable. You need to be prepared and organized for the week. If you're not, it's going to be very hard for you to stay consistent because nobody wants to come off a 10-hour shift midweek and say, oh my goodness, I have to do this, this, and this. We're not doing that. We're going to fail sometimes. You're going to slip up. Want to know why? Because that failure does not prove to your identity that you are that failured person, that lazy person, that old version of yourself. It just means you made a mistake because you are human. However, it also gives you so much opportunity to learn and grow from it. And now that you have so much positive momentum moving forward, you will have a greater time coming over this obstruction and actually being more successful. So I want you to really ask yourself, right? What went well this week? Where did you slip up, right? What systems do you need to change, right? We're constantly reinventing ourselves. Our lives are changing. Our job sites are changing. Maybe our family situation's changing. You need to be your own self-critic and you need to audit yourself every week. This is going to allow you to progressively track your progress and never fall back into what you once were, which were your bad habits, the overweight, insecure, the guy who couldn't show up for his kids. Lastly is going to be section 13, right? So I want you to pause this video and we've made it to the end. It's going to be your actionable plan moving forward. I want you to start by pick one identity statement. Who are you wanting to become? Ask yourself why. Who do I want to be? And get real serious. Next up, I want you to pick 3 anchor habits that you can do today after clicking off of this video that will move the needle forward and get you to where you want to be. And after you do that, I want you to use all of the journal prompts we've taken across this whole entire journey for yourself and build out your own schedule. You have all the tools you need to change your life. Now, the last step you need to do, which is the hardest one, is taking action. You can have all the information. You can consume everything in the world. But if you do not take the first step, you are never going to progress or succeed. And that is exactly the habits and systems I built for myself to lose 40 pounds, run a marathon. I'm training for an Ironman right now, and how I help my clients see the best results possible.